Lagos, the nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from the Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, members of the People's Democratic Party at Igioro Ward in Boko, Benue State suspend the party's national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, over alleged anti-party activities. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP urges INEC to investigate allegations of electoral violence and other electoral offences against state governors and their deputies during the just concluded general elections. President Muhammadu Buhari joins other Nigerians in mourning former Chief of General Staff General Diya, who passed on at the age of 79. And U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris arrives in Ghana to deepen ties with the country as part of her three-nation tour of Africa. We begin from Benue, where the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Mr. Iyorchia Ayu, has been suspended by 12 out of the 17 ward executive committee members of his party at Igioro Ward of Boko local government area, where he registered as a member of the party. The ward secretary of the party, Mr. Vanga Doyum, who read the resolution of the ward exco, says Mr. Ayu was involved in anti-party activities, making the PDP to lose at his ward and local government during the presidential election. Mr. Ayu is also accused of not paying his annual dues as enshrined in the party's constitution.
Vote of no confidence and suspension of Dr. Iyorchia Ayu as member People's Democratic Party, PDP, Igioro Council Ward, Boko Local Government, Benue State. We, the underlisted, are ward executive members of Igioro Ward, Boko Local Government, having reviewed the conduct of the Presidential and National Assembly elections, as well as the governorship and state houses of assembly election, we observe with utmost dismay that Dr. Iyorchia Ayu, who is the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, worked against the sources of the party in Igioro Council Ward. It is on record that he has also failed to pay his annual subscription fees as provided under Section 8, subsection 9 of the Constitution of the People's Democratic Party, PDP 2017 as amended.
Meanwhile, the PDP and the APC in Benue State are in a war of words over the outcome of the 2023 governorship election won by the APC's Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia. While the PDP is alleging the APC used security agencies to rig the election, the APC is asking the PDP to challenge the results in court.
The 2023 general elections may have come and gone, but the dust generated from the conduct of the governorship election in Benue State is yet to settle.
Hyacinth Alia of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
The declaration of Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia as the governor-elect has given room for dispute between the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress. While the PDP is accusing the APC of using security agents to hijack the mandate of the people, the APC says the PDP failed because of its performance in office.
We have complained about the presidential and national assembly elections, that we were not satisfied and we were going to court. It is therefore the decision of the Benue State chapter of PDP that the outcome of the March 18, 2023 elections be challenged at the Benue State governorship election petitions tribunal sitting in Makurdi.
They can go about in deceiving him. The most important thing, the Benue people have spoken, and it is loud and clear. That Benue people have no time for failures. The abysmal performance of the governor is one of the factors or the major reasons why the Benue people, even before the elections, were ready to say, look, enough is enough.
The people of Benue State are looking to May 29th when the new government takes office with the hope of improving on agricultural practices where the state has comparative advantage.
In Kano State, civil society groups under the Transition Monitoring Group, that's the TMG, have distanced themselves from any calls for the cancellation of the Kano State governorship election. The chairman of the Transition Monitoring Group, Mr. Awal Rafsanjani, told a news conference in Kano that such call is a violation of the guidelines on election monitoring. Mr. Rafsanjani adds that observers are only to monitor the election process and give recommendations on how the Independent National Electoral Commission can improve the process.
Civil society organizations that are accredited with INEC would never call for cancellation of any election. Our work is to observe the process, document it, and make recommendation for an improved election. Never to call for any cancellation of any election whatsoever. It is not part of the mandate of any credible accredited civil society organization. The spread of this fictitious and malicious news in a time when political space in Nigeria is already heated up is not only worrisome but also has the potential to further overheat the polity. As a champion of democracy, we will never allow smear campaigners and people with politically motivated reasons drag credible civil society organizations in Kano State and indeed in Nigeria at large into political wars with political parties. It is not part of our mandate, it is not part of our responsibility because we are not politicians and we are not associated with any political parties or politicians. Therefore, we want to restate our position here clearly that we call on the public to disregard in totality this wild report making rounds and using the names of credible organizations and call for cancellation of the governorship election in Nigeria and Kano in particular. We assure the public that we have never at any time issued such a statement, nay have been a party to such conclusion. We strongly believe in democratic approaches to settling election disputes and encourage all those who are not satisfied with the process to seek redress in the court of law.
Elsewhere, the Labour Party Coalition for True Democracy are calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to suspend the planned presentation of a certificate of return to the PDP governorship candidate who was declared as the governor-elect for Enugu State. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the General Secretary of the Coalition, Mr. Chukwudi Igwe, says the election that was conducted on March the 18th in Enugu was characterized by electoral malpractices in Kano East, in Kano West, in Nsukka, and 3 other local government areas of the state.
On the whole, there are a total of 21,156 persons with PVCs yet to cast their votes across the state. This number is far huge enough to affect the final outcome of the result as declared by INEC. Section 51, subsection 2, 3 and 4 of the Electoral Act envisage that a rerun be conducted in such circumstances. Recall that in the final results, as declared by the INEC, the candidate of the PDP purportedly polled a total number of 160,895 votes, while the candidate of the Labour Party polled a total number of 157,552 votes. In other words, the candidate of the PDP purportedly won by 3,343 votes. It is therefore curious how a return was hurriedly made on the gubernatorial election when the total number of polling units where elections were yet to hold, far outnumbered the margin with which the candidate of the PDP was returned.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, will have reduced credibility to conduct future elections following its performance in the 2023 general election. And that's according to Professor of Political Science and Elections Analyst Jidofor Adibe. He told Channels Television's Ladia Keriduluale on our election issues and personalities tracking program Roadmap 2023 that the politicians have also shown that they haven't learned much from previous processes.
INEC as presently constituted, I'm not sure they have enough legitimacy to organize future elections. But INEC is only a part of the problem. There is also the problem of our politicians. The beavers, beavers, I believe, is a good technology that ought to have been able to help us. If the uploading of results at the polling unit, immediately elections are concluded, if they were done, if such things were done, maybe, perhaps, some of the loss of confidence in the body could not have happened. If INEC had responded differently to situations, you see, for example, trying to use MCO, Luomo Management, Transport Management Committee to carry out sensitive materials. Why should INEC wait until Labour Party and the others had to go to court to get an injunction? Why is it that they requested for the transfer of a resident electoral commissioner that was accused of bias? What would it have cost them? And then if you look at the day of the outcome of the presidential election, and people were bringing complaints, he kept saying, okay, we'll look into it, and you never looked into it, you just declared the elections by 3 a.m. So there are a number of things. It is possible that, that all those malfeasances and shortcomings could not have affected the outcome. But it is part of the process, transparency of the process that could have engendered more confidence in the system, and it didn't happen.
For the full interview with Professor Adibe, do watch Roadmap 2023 tomorrow, Monday, March 27th at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. Meanwhile, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is asking the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, to facilitate the investigation of allegations of electoral violence and other electoral offenses during the just concluded general elections. SERAP says allegations of bribery by state governors and their deputies during elections should also be investigated. In a letter, the rights group is asking INEC to identify suspected perpetrators and their sponsors and ensure their effective prosecution regardless of their political status or affiliations. SERAP explains that suspected perpetrators and their sponsors have acted in violation of constitutional provisions, international standards, and the Electoral Act. Now, as part of efforts to address the challenges of insecurity bedeviling some parts of Taraba State, Governor Darius Ishoku has inaugurated traditional rulers to facilitate the return of peace in affected communities of the state. At an event to present staff of office to the traditional rulers, the governor warns that he will not tolerate any attempts to sabotage his peace-building efforts and warns the traditional rulers against harboring criminal elements in their domain. When we come back in part 2 after the break, President Muhammadu Buhari pays tribute to former Chief of General Staff, General Oladipo Diya, who died on Sunday morning at the age of 79. Please join us again.
My baby is always running around, but keeping up is easy with the Huggies Nappy Pants because the 360 comfort thick waistband makes it easy to open, easy on, easy off, so my baby can keep on exploring.
Huggies Nappy Pants. Try it today.
That's your turn. That's your turn. That's your turn.
Capital.
Keep trending with the Glow Social Data Bundles. Dial *777# or buy via Glow Cafe.
Time waits for no man, or so they said. That's why you set goals and set your minds to achieving them. Because somehow you believe that one day your time will come. So through the highs and the lows, the good days and the not so great ones, you never stop thriving, hustling and showing up, because you know, even if tomorrow is not guaranteed, at least you've got control over today. But it's not enough to believe it. You've got to live it too, with the right partner by your side, providing you with all the support you need to forge ahead, and reminding you that now it's your time, not tomorrow, today. Today is yours to create greatness, to achieve your dreams, to reach your goals. And with FCMB, today is yours in every way. FCMB, my bank and I.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you see as it be now, they call me but no be me show. That's how some business owners will have a different name on their business account from the actual business name. Listen, don't let your customers be suspicious of your business. Sign up a business account with Money Points and get an account in your business name in minutes.
Whatever it takes to make sure you have a business account opened in your business name, we'll do it as your sure banker. Open a bank account in your business name with Money Point.
My baby is always running around, but keeping up is easy with the Huggies nappy pants, because the 360 comfort thick waistband makes it easy to open, easy on, easy off, so my baby can keep on exploring.
Huggies nappy pants. Try it today.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Members of the People's Democratic Party at Igoro Ward in Boko, Benue State suspend the party's national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, over alleged anti-party activities. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project Serap urges INEC to investigate allegations of electoral violence and other electoral offences against state governors and their deputies during the just concluded general elections. President Muhammadu Buhari joins other Nigerians in mourning former Chief of General Staff, General Oladipo Diya, who passed on at the age of 79. And U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris arrives in Ghana to deepen ties with the country as part of a three-nation tour of Africa. The 10th Assembly is expected to come on board in June this year after the President gives the proclamation for the inauguration of the Assembly. While the incoming Assembly is projected to be the most politically diverse since 1999 and also an Assembly which will be dominated by brand new legislators. In this report, our Senate correspondent Linda Kigbe examines the composition of the 10th Assembly as well as issues of inclusion and emergence of principal officers of the Assembly.
Senators-elect.
On March 7th and 8th, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, presented certificates of return to 101 senators-elect and 325 House of Reps members-elect, whom it declared winners in the February 25th National Assembly elections. The electoral umpire will be conducting supplementary elections to fill the remaining vacant seats. These federal lawmakers will make up the 10th Assembly, which is expected to come on board in June 2023. The 10th Assembly will be a politically diverse National Assembly, as more political parties have made inroads into the federal parliament fielding lawmakers. The Senate will be made up of 7 political parties. This is different from the 9th Assembly, which at its commencement had 3 political parties in the upper chamber, namely the APC, PDP, and YPP. The House of Representatives will have more political parties in the 10th Assembly than the Senate. The composition of the 9th House of Representatives at its inception was slightly different, namely the APC, PDP, APGA, ADC, AA, APM, SDP, and YPP.
Without the party caucus being firm and focused, the diversity, the impact of diversity will not be felt. For instance, what is the 34 members of the Labour Party in the House of Rep, coming to the 10th Assembly? What is the agenda? Outside their individual constituencies, what is the party going to represent?
However, the diversity in political parties did not extend to women, particularly in the Senate. Only 3 women will be part of the 10th Senate, compared with 9 women at the start of the 9th Assembly. The House of Representatives fared better with 15 women joining the 10th Assembly, compared with 13 women in the 9th Assembly.
I think it's embarrassing. I think we, as a nation, we could have done better. I know that somebody was trying to suggest that women are not voting for women, and I said that's not true, because they can only vote for the women if they're on the ballot. But most of the time, they don't actually get on the ballot. At least by the time they get on the ballot, the numbers have reduced drastically. So really, we need to do something about it.
A crucial phenomenon in the 9th National Assembly is a high turnover rate of federal legislators. 70% of lawmakers in the 10th Assembly are new senators, with 30% returning. In the House of Representatives, 68% of lawmakers are making their first appearance in Parliament, while 32% of legislators are returning. For some legislative analysts and keen observers of Parliament, this may pose some challenges.
Legislators will need time to be trained to understand how this, works. We cannot just jump into it. So we are going to have delay, in terms of productivity. Productivity will be low because you have 70% turnover.
Ahead of the inauguration of the 10th Assembly, there has been high-level politicking and lobbying for the positions of the principal officers of the National Assembly. In the Senate, some contenders for the position of Senate President have signified interest in contesting for the top job. Senators Orji Kalu and Jibrin Barau have publicly thrown their hearts into the race, while there are reports that Senators Godswill Akpabio, Dave Umahi, and Musa Sani are keen to occupy the position. In the House of Representatives, there are reports that federal lawmakers, namely Idris Wase, Aliyu Batara, Tajuddin Abbas, and Benjamin Kalu, are interested in the position of the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Everybody is waiting for the zoning formula that the ruling party will release, but if they do not manage their success very well, as we saw in 2015, then we can begin to say that we may likely have a challenge in the 10th Assembly.
The 10th Assembly will be coming on board at a time when the country is coming out of the controversial general election marred by allegations of irregularities. a nation grappling with economic challenges and also fragmented across religious and ethnic lines. The 10th Assembly indeed has its work cut out for it in offering legislative interventions to confront these challenges. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
The Department of State Services, the DSS, have carried out a series of arrests across the country, which includes the interception of a 6-man criminal gang at Gegubeki along the Lokoja-Abuja Road. Among the suspects arrested include Colonel A.U. Suleiman, retired, Barrister M.K. Aminu, Kabir Abdullahi, Isa Umar, Kadir Echi, and Adama Abdul Karim. Also, the service says it has apprehended a 20-year-old suspected notorious kidnapper, Haruna Adamu, at Forta Village in Gombe local government area, Adamawa State, and found in his possession 1 AK-47 rifle, 1 magazine, and 4 rounds of 7.62mm live ammunition were all recovered from the suspect. Others arrested include 1 Aminu Ibrahim, a suspected gun runner who was arrested along Kubwa Expressway, Abuja, by the service operatives while on his way from Nasarawa State to deliver 432 rounds of 7.62 X39mm caliber ammunition concealed in a 4-liter gallon of palm oil to a bandit in Niger State. Now, the other suspect is Babangida Ibrahim, an arms courier who was apprehended along Bukuru in Jos, South Local Government area of Plateau State. Now, the State Security Service, or the DSS Public Relations Officer, Mr. Peter Funaya, says all the suspects have since been taken into custody and will be prosecuted. The Enugu Police Command has confirmed attack on 2 of its operatives serving in Uwani Police Division of Enugu State Command while on routine stop and search duty along Campus Gate Road by Kenyatta Market, Enugu, this morning. According to the statement by the Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Daniel Ndukwe, the armed hoodlums in their numbers and operating in SUVs suddenly opened fire on the police officers, taking them unawares. He noted that the vehicles operated with by the assailants have been recovered, and the manhunt for their arrest have also been launched. Well, as part of efforts to address the challenges of insecurity bedeviling some parts of Taraba State, the State Governor Darius Ishaku has inaugurated a traditional rulers to facilitate the return of peace in affected communities there. Well, that's an event to present a staff of office to the traditional rulers, while the governor warns that he will not tolerate any attempts to sabotage his peace-building efforts and warns the traditional rulers against harboring criminal elements in their domain.
The abduction and subsequent killing of the 2 wives and 5 children of a traditional ruler, the increasing spate of insecurity in Taraba State are issues that dominate the discussion here as Governor Darius Ishaku inaugurates 7 newly appointed traditional chiefs. With over 80 tribes and 68 chiefdoms across 168 wards of Taraba State, the government says reforming the traditional institution to meet its demand for peaceful coexistence remains a necessity, especially with the vacuum created as a result of the demise of some traditional rulers.
We have witnessed a lot of security challenges, and most of these challenges manifest in one way or the other, especially in the influx of foreigners.
Among those inaugurated is the former Supreme Court Justice Emmanuel Dodo, and Governor Darius Ishaku charges them to facilitate the return of peace in affected communities in Taraba State.
Let me reiterate, emphasize, you are not allowed to carve out large swathes of lands to individuals or companies without, I repeat, without the consent of the government of the day. This may earn you severe punishment. We have had cases where chunks of lands have been sold illegally, and that have attracted so many bad hoodlums that have constituted nuisance to our society. That will amount to illegality that will lead to prosecution.
This task of sustaining peace in Taraba State, according to the governor, however, requires the support of the followers.
Well, the Global Terrorism Index is the world's most comprehensive assessment about how countries perform in the fight against terrorism. The 2023 Global Terrorism Report Card has been officially released by the Institute for Economics and Peace. To share insights about Nigeria's latest ranking in the fight against terrorism is Babajide Oguso, a founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst. Great to have you, Babajide.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, indeed. And we're talking terrorism. So let's start off. What are the hard facts about terrorism, in Nigeria and, of course, in Africa as a whole?
So the first is, if you had asked a question on is Nigeria's election process improving, that I don't have an answer for. It's not an easy question. But if the question you've asked, is Nigeria improving regarding national security, the answer is yes. And that answer was provided by the Institute for Economics and Peace, because they are the world leaders when it comes to keeping track of all terrorism incidences and deaths around the world. But there are three things that come out within this report. The first is, this is Nigeria's best performance in a dozen years. Best performance in a dozen years, fact one. Fact two is, despite the success of Nigeria, the Sahel region in Africa, and if we take a look at what I mean by the Sahel region, and the map shows that the Sahel region in Africa is still the most dangerous place to live. Now, the Sahel region pretty much has a lot of challenges with insecurity, and the Institute of Economics and Peace places a high level of alert and warning on countries such as Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Mauritania, Niger Republic, and Senegal. Within the report, they say, yes, terrorism cases in Nigeria significantly decreasing. However, the challenge is that across the Sahel region, these key countries we've talked about, Burkina Faso, Gambia, Guinea, Mauritania, Niger Republic, Mali, and Senegal, these regions have rising number of terrorism cases, and if those cases keep rising, then we might have a challenge with the numbers we are seeing from Nigeria. And finally, the report also lets us know that though globally, terrorism cases declined in 2022 relative to 2021, we now have a high concentration of terrorists who are unknown, classified as unknown jihadists. In simple terms, on an average, 1 in every 3 terrorism cases are now handled by people classified as unknown jihadists, and that is the challenge. Best performance for Nigeria in a dozen years. The challenges in Sahel region within Africa still rising, the most dangerous place to live in the world. And thirdly, we now have unknown jihadists who are conducting acts of crime and violence.
Which brings me to the next question, of course, the progress, talking about Nigeria's progress. How much are we making in reducing, terrorism-related deaths and, of course, cases?
The number speaks for itself. If you take a look at the report card from the Institute of Economics and Peace, they released the report and showed how much progress Nigeria has made since in the last 12 years. And here are the facts, Ayo. Keep an eye on 3 years, 2011, 2014, and 2022. In 2011, there were 175 terrorist attacks in Nigeria. The deaths related to terrorism in that same year, 447. That's the first row. Look at what happened in 2014. 2014 regarded as Nigeria's worst ever terrorism year. 713 terrorist attacks, resulting in more than 7,700 persons being killed. Now look at what has happened since 2021. 214 terrorist attacks, 497 deaths related to terrorism. But the fact shows last year, there were 120 terrorist attacks, the lowest in a dozen years, lower than even the numbers in 2011. Deaths related to terrorism last year, 385, the lowest we've seen in a dozen years. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, what exactly has happened in the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022, that has led to that's led to a significant reduction in deaths due to terrorism? And one of the things we've seen is that in January 2021, there were appointments of new service chiefs. And the question is, was the appointment of new service chiefs sufficient? The answer is no. What we've seen is these new service chiefs, more than all other service chiefs before them, the fact shows that one key thing they've done more than the others, collaboration.
So let's talk about the impact then. Our citizens, can we say that citizens are now feeling the impact, of this reduced cases of terrorism?
Again, the number speaks by itself. If you take a look at the facts and the surveys, what it has shown is, yes, we've seen a lot of collaboration led by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lokerabo, the Chief of Army Staff, Naval Staff, and Air Force, significantly collaborating to achieve these numbers. But again, if you ask people across the regions, some people believe security has improved, some are a bit indifferent, and some say terrorism cases are about the same. So let's take a look at what is exactly going on and the perception across the regions. And if you look at the question I was asked in February 2022, is security improving in the Northwest? In February 2022, 44% of those surveyed said security was improving. In February 2023, only 39% of persons living in the Northwest said security had improved. So in the Northwest, we see a decline in sentiments. However, in the North Central, February 2022, 38% of those surveyed said security had improved. We see a significant improvement last year, this year, February 2023, more people surveyed said security had improved. So overall, in the North Central, Northeast, Southwest, and South-South, families living in those four regions acknowledge that security has improved. In the Northwest, families still think security needs to be improved, and in the Southeast, it's about the same. So in all, Southeast, the perception about security this time last year is about the same this time when the survey was done last month. Four regions say they've seen improvements in security, and only in the Northwest have those surveyed said security has declined.
Well, it does definitely paint a rather good picture from what we've seen there. But let's now talk about the outlook of peace in the country. What is that outlook going forward?
And for me, the outlook is to look at the promises, the security promises of the President-elect Bola Tinubu, to look at how does he want to sustain this sort of positive numbers we've seen from the Global Terrorism Index. And one of the things we need to look at is what are his top 10 promises. First, he's talked about improving domestic production of military hardware. Two, he's talked about rehabilitation of the Lake Chad Basin, trying to make sure that the Lake Chad Basin and all the other ecological problems are reduced. He's also talked about increasing security personnel, enhancing their training, and improving welfare for their families, scholarships, allowances. Another idea from Bola Tinubu is saying that it's going to improve the use of communication technology and aerial surveillance equipment to sustain the security progress that the sort of positive numbers that we currently are seeing. He's talked about improving border monitoring and patrol in his manifesto, saying that border monitoring and patrol will be one of the key things it will do to improve the state of national peace. Again, a new idea coming from him is talked about creating anti-terrorist battalions. How will that be implemented? Across which regions? How will it be funded? We are waiting for more information regarding the creation of the anti-terrorist battalions that was mentioned in his manifesto. One big idea coming from Bola Tinubu, the president-elect, is talked about critical infrastructure protection plan, that all national infrastructures will be protected using a new strategy. We're looking at How will that be implemented? If that is implemented successfully, yes, it will improve the numbers we are seeing from global terrorism, from the global terrorism report, and it will make Nigerians feel safer. The eighth of another idea from Bola Tinubu is the plan to reform the police and the NSCDC. It's talked about there will be police reforms, and the NSCDC, the National Security Defense Corps, will be reformed. Another big idea is Forest Guard Force. In his manifesto, he's talked about a deliberate plan to guard the forest. He believes that if he's able to achieve that by guarding the forest, by creating a Forest Guard Force, security will further improve. And finally, perhaps what will be his biggest test and create the biggest impact on security, he's talked about working with the states on an economic assistance program, and is clearly found and stated that defeating poverty is among his national security plans.
All right, definitely. There are lofty ideas from what we've seen there, and let's just hope that we continue to make improvements as far as
the key word to make improvements: collaboration. We're collaborating. We've seen the security chiefs collaborate. We expect whatever happens in the days ahead, collaboration will be sustained.
All right, thank you so much, Babajide Ogusawo, Channels Television's data analyst and founder of Leadership by Data.
We will keep collaborating.
Well, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that's the NDLEA, have arrested a businessman, Moloko Mwachuku, who frequents China, Dubai, Pakistan, and Vietnam at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, for concealing 36 parcels of cocaine in different parts of his check-in luggage, hand luggage, and 2 pairs of slippers en route to Southeast Asia. He was detained last week while attempting to board a flight to Vietnam at the MMIA Terminal 2 screening point in Lagos. In the same vein, NDLEA operatives in Lagos Airport thwarted an export operation by a suspect, Chimezie Innocent Wafo, which comprised of 2.10 kilograms of methamphetamine heading to Brazil. As a follow-up operation led to the arrest of 3 more suspects linked to the consignment. Well, the meth consignment was molded into 25 bars of local black soap and packaged in a carton for export to Brazil. A similar attempt to export consignment consisting of 300 grams of raw cocaine and 200 grams of phenacetin, a chemical agent used to adulterate an increased volume of cocaine concealed in packs of air fresheners heading to Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, was also foiled by NDLEA operatives attached to the SACO export shed at the Lagos airport on Monday, March the 20th. Well, the NDLEA also made some arrests in Edo State as operatives intercepted 69 bags of cannabis sativa weighing 700 kilograms concealed under bags of fertilizers in Auchi. Also, in Ogun State, a female drug dealer was nabbed in Igbesa area of the state with various quantities of methamphetamine, cannabis, and rofinol. And in Delta State, 96 compressed blocks of cannabis weighing 82 kilograms concealed in jumbo bags of cassava flour were recovered at a market in Asaba, with a total of 164,750 pills of opioids, mainly tramadol, were seized from 2 suspects in parts of Taraba State, as no fewer than 45 blocks of compressed cannabis weighing 23 kilograms were recovered along Okene-Abuja Highway. A former Chief of General Staff under late General Sani Abacha, Lieutenant General Oladipo Diya, has died at the age of 79. Well, his death was announced in a statement by his son, Simi Diya, earlier today. According to his son, the former military administrator of Ogun State died in the early hours of today. Now, the former general rose through the ranks after joining the military, where he held top positions, including the General Officer commanding 82 Division, and finally the Chief of General Staff as a military vice president to General Sani Abacha. While serving in the military, he obtained a law degree from the Ahmadu Bello University and was later called to the bar. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled the family of the former Chief of General Staff over his passage. In a statement by the presidential spokesman, Mr. Femi Adesina, the president commended Lieutenant General Oladipo Diya over his contribution to the country. He described him as a military officer with brilliance and exceptional organization skills and discipline. President Buhari eulogized Lieutenant General Diya's exceptional performance during his days as the Chief of General Staff, a Vice Chairman of the Provisional Ruling Council, a General Officer commanding 82 Division, a commandant of the National War College and Chief of Defense Staff, as well as military governor of Ogun State. But the president salutes the former Chief of General Staff for his love, belief, and loyalty to the country. Water is an essential part of our everyday life, and some displaced people in the new Kuchingoro IDP camp know this experientially. Our correspondent Victoria Longjohn, who visited the settlements to examine the water situation, where reports that the settlers have to pay to have access to potable water.
This March, the world celebrated the World Water Day, an opportunity to look at the supply and usage of potable water around the world and indeed developing countries.
A third of UNICEF.
According to the Chief of WASH UNICEF, Jane Bevan, a triple threat of water-related crisis is endangering the lives of 78 million children in Nigeria.
Access to safe water has a huge number of implications, not least with the additional challenge of climate change, which is really exacerbating the situation. But it particularly impacts women and children, which is why UNICEF is so involved with water and sanitation, because the children are the ones that suffer the most. If there's a cholera outbreak, for example, with poor water, it's the children that die. So it's really important to look at safe water. It is a basic human right, and we need to be providing it.
In the new Kuchingoro internally displaced persons settlement in the FCT, living conditions here are far from easy. These people have come from different parts of Nigeria's northeast due to Boko Haram insurgency. They have attempted to give themselves some semblance of living in these sheds. Among the many challenges they have had to contend with, access to water tops the list. Ruth David has lived in this settlement since 2014. The water situation is a consistent concern for her, as she has tried different avenues to get water.
Truly, the way we are managing the water is not in order, because we don't have money always to buy water. Until we go to bush to find cashew seed and we sell it. If we sell it before we go buy water, and we don't have enough. It's just one borehole we are managing, and the population is too much here. We have river, but it's not drinking water. We go and wash our clothes and bath our children there. But when you bath with the water, you see body start scratching because of dirty from other area, other place to Kuchingoro.
This is a canal just behind the Kuchingoro settlement here, and this is where members of this settlement have to walk about 2 kilometers to get water, to wash clothing, to bathe their children, and sadly even sometimes to cook.
The only borehole at this settlement where the people can get access to water does not work all the time. To get a bucket of water, one will have to pay.
We have to buy water, and I don't have money. One rubber is sold for 20 naira, and I have to buy 5 rubbers, which is 100 naira. I would rather use the money to cook for my children and go to the stream to fetch water when I can.
Government knows that we are here. And for how many years we are complaining this thing to them, and they did not do anything for us. So we don't have anything to tell government to maybe to come and help us or what, because we are here since 2014. We did not see any government support.
This distressing situation of having to pay for a bucket of water, despite being internally displaced, is unlikely to end soon. Victoria Longjohn, Channels Television News.
The Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Zenith Bank PLC, Dr. Ebenezer Onyagu, has received an honorary doctorate from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Now, the institution said the award is in recognition of its commitment to addressing the challenges confronting Nigeria under the Sustainable Development Goals, especially those relating to health, education, poverty elimination, economic growth, amongst others. Dr. Nyagu was honored at the 50th convocation of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, which took place at the institution's main campus in Nsukka, Enugu State.
In a procession, the leadership of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, students and some invited guests make their way into the Margaret Ekpo Hall for the institution's 50th convocation ceremony. The occasion is also an opportunity to confer honorary doctorate degrees of the university on notable Nigerians, including the Chief Executive Officer of Zenith Bank, Ebenezer Onyagu, who distinguished himself in his chosen career and service to humanity. The university's Vice-Chancellor makes a brief remark about the event.
The occasion of 50th convocation is a milestone in our history as university's first indigenous university. It is also a testament to the fact that our university has truly come of age.
The award ceremony kicks off with the citation of the CEO of Zenith Bank, Mr. Onyagu.
The regents of the University of Nigeria, upon recommendation of the Senate, have unanimously agreed to confer upon you the honorary degree of the university.
Thereafter is clothed in honorary academic regalia as he receives a doctorate degree in business administration, the honorary Kosa, which immediately changes his title from Mr. to Dr. Ebenezer Onyagu. He dedicates the award to the chairman and staff of Zenith Bank.
I must give gratitude to our chairman, who has remained a mentor, a leader, an outstanding source of inspiration to all of us, and to our board, and of course to my colleagues.
He believes the award is a recognition of the outstanding work and contribution of Zenith Bank PLC in the banking system and the economic growth of the nation.
University of Nigeria Nsukka is validating the good initiative of outstanding corporate governance, ethical leadership, and overall outstanding performance that Zenith is recording.
For his friends, it's a well-deserved award.
It's well-deserved, given his trajectory in banking, of professionalism, excellence, and building a strong institution, Zenith Bank, and continues to win several awards and contribute to learning and development, as well as manpower development.
For Dr. Onyagu, Zenith Bank remains committed to addressing the challenges confronting Nigeria under the Sustainable Development Goals, especially those relating to health, education, poverty elimination, decent work, and economic growth.
The Firoz Lalji Institute for Africa has partnered with the London School of Economics to convene a two-day summit held in the British capital, highlighting the vast opportunities for the continent's youth population in order to drive regional and global development. Our London correspondent Juliana Olainka tells us more.
Europe's largest student-led African conference is back for its 10th year. This weekend, the LSE Africa, in partnership with the Firoz Lalji Institute for Africa, has provided a prestigious platform for the continent's renowned scholars, leading politicians, change-makers, activists, and forward-thinking entrepreneurs. Unplugging the vast opportunities for youth prosperity is at the centre of the robust discussions.
Government, the energy to want to transform society in a positive way in Africa, the search for solution by young people, and the urgency with which they are now addressing it was not there 10 years ago. So something has shifted or is shifting in Africa, and young people are right at the heart of that shift.
That hope will come from us as young people owning our Africa, owning Agenda 2063, bringing our voices together, making sure that our voice is loud. And when our voice is loud, we can be, heard on this decision-making table, and we can actually make that change in Africa.
Under a theme of the now next generation, participants have not shied away from tackling the pressing issues impacting the development of the youth across the continent.
That the youth who's supposed to be our future leaders, whether we like it or not, because they will grow up to take our positions, are not being prepared, we are not getting them ready. They themselves want to be, but they have no hope, no direction, no support. So what the youth has is this dynamism. If you are not careful, they channel it in the wrong way in terms of protestation and violence and extremism on our continent. And I think it is a serious concern that we should all be worried about.
The time is now down tomorrow. But how?
With more than 60% of Africa aged 25 or under, participants here understand it is no longer possible to ignore their concerns.
So we must look at yesterday to be able to correct tomorrow. But it is also practicable to ensure that the same mistakes are not repeated in profiling lasting solutions for tomorrow.
Dialogue that seeks to strengthen the continent's key institutions is important. However, ensuring that these solutions are translated into policy that benefits those on the ground is even more fundamental. Juliana Olayinka, reporting from the London School of Economics and Political Science for Channels Television News.
The Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, is in Ghana on the first stop of a three-nation African tour. Mrs. Harris says the focus of her visit is to promote peace and security, build on long-term economic growth, and strengthen business ties with the continent as she meets with countries' leaders. The U.S. Vice President explains how America intends to increase investments on the continent, especially the empowerment of women and girls, youth entrepreneurship, increasing digital inclusion, food security, and adaptation to the climate crisis. Time now for some sports news. Well, ahead of the 9th FIFA Women's World Cup to be hosted by Australia and New Zealand, the head of Visa for the West Africa region, Mr. Andrew Waboy, is pledging the commitment of Visa to the development and promotion of women football. Speaking in Abuja at the FIFA Women's World Cup Trophy Tour hosted by Visa, Mr. Waboy reiterates the commitment of the organization to ensure partnership that will turn around the game of football globally.
It is the FIFA Women's World Cup Trophy Tour hosted by Visa West Africa in Abuja.
Visa West Africa is also the vice.
Officials of Visa West Africa highlight the essence of the Trophy Tour.
We have decided to partner with FIFA, and this partnership has been ongoing for quite a bit. We mentioned earlier, it's been 15 years of partnership with women's football, but in 2021, we took the deliberate decision to partner with the FIFA 2023 World Cup.
We are doing something great for Nigeria. This is really, really a big deal, and we are very excited to be here. And you know what this trophy represents? This trophy represents the pinnacle of success when it comes to women's sports. It represents the fact that for every African woman out there, for every African talent, it represents the fact they can actually achieve whatever they want to achieve.
Invited guests take turn to take pictures with the most coveted prize in women's football. The idea behind the tour is to drive key industry conversations about women football and Visa's innovative solutions to support their growth.
For us, it's an opportunity for us to use the power of football to tell the story of a woman, by showcasing the ability to bring equity, bring inclusion, and also give women an opportunity, young women particularly, an opportunity for something to aim and target to grow their goals and ambitions about.
Visa is a worldwide partner for the FIFA Women's World Cup, and we truly believe that this is one of the sporting events that actually promotes unity because it leverages the power of football to drive that.
The FIFA Women's World Cup is one of the most exciting events in world football, and Visa is thrilled to be a partner for the tournament. Visa is a digital payments company that provides innovative payment solutions between customers, merchants, banks, and other financial institutions. The world leader in digital payments have a mission to remove barriers and connect more people to the global economy. Visa believes that economies that include everyone would ultimately uplift everyone, everywhere.
And the main news again. Executive committee members of the People's Democratic Party at Igiro Ward in Boko, Benue State have suspended the party's national chairman Yocha Ayu over alleged anti-party activities. That's the news at 10. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Good night.
Welcome to Diaspora Network, where we showcase Nigerians who are doing amazing things in different parts of the world and doing the country proud. I'm Ijoma Onyato. On the show today, it's all about the culinary business. We bring you delicious Nigerian food found in far-flung corners of the world. Our special report zeroes in on Nigerian cuisine and the chefs that have made it global for all taste buds. And we give you a taste of Enish Restaurant, arguably the largest Nigerian restaurant chain in the world today. What a lineup we have ahead of us. So let's kick off now with a look at what's in the news this week.
The trial has begun following the murder of a Nigerian-born music manager who was stabbed to death in the British capital for a designer watch that was likely a counterfeit. Emmanuel Odulami was attacked by robbers after leaving a restaurant in the city where he was celebrating his birthday. The court was told that the suspects were allegedly tipped off by a